I just want to start by saying how grateful I am and how excited I am about the fact that this dream of creating these books is finally happening, and it's come. We're done. This is it. And I just, A, thank you, and B, I'm so excited about sharing this with the world.
Well, I'm just equally as excited. This has been a dream come true for me for many, many years. It's hard when you're raising a family, trying to be a good physician, to have the extra time to do it, and then to have the luck of meeting somebody who not just had gone through it, but who's also an English professor and had all the different things that complemented what I wanted to do. So I was super excited. Also, for me, it was important to take my career and my knowledge to the next level. For years, I've done these one-to-one, and I felt like after 25 years of doing this, I had a lot that I could contribute to help other people out there and not just my patients in the office. So this is a great opportunity, and I can never thank you enough for making it come true.
Igualmente.
Igualmente.
The idea that comes to me, it comes to mind is like, this is a synergy, because we've created this 360-degree approach to health, and it's our gift to the people who need it most. It's our gift to the people who are struggling with prostate problems or prostate cancer. And as you were saying earlier, I can't do what you do. I don't have the medical knowledge you do. I haven't, studied for 15 years and gone into practice for 25 years. Not to make you sound old, because you're not.
No, of course not.
Yeah,
course
but
not.
the point is, it's like you have this wealth of experience that I don't have, but I have the personal experience of going through it, and I'm also a writer. So this is a craft. We built this dream, these books, and it's wonderful. And now we get to give it to the world.
You know how some of the best ideas you ever had are in awkward or strange moments. One of the things that, you have to take your children, you guys know as parents nowadays, you go to soccer practice, you go to gymnastics practice. I was sitting in gymnastics practice with my children. I'm like, we need to come, with a type of book that anybody can read within an hour while we're waiting for our children to do their thing and really become proficient in that area. And so then when Mark was there, and with him, all the experience that he's had writing for newspapers, being an editor, teaching other people, I'm like, do you think we could create something that would be really relevant, that could really help people in the 21st century? Not a book that goes on and on and on, and you just halfway through it, you're already asleep, but something that was full of life and clarity. And he says, absolutely. And so it was that beautiful synergy where he goes, hey, let's write a children's book for adults in a way. I'm like, what a great idea. And in a way, that's what it is. We summarize all the very important information that can be absorbed within an hour. And then, of course, we added other things for, later, so when you have more time and you want to expand in an area that you may not be familiar with, then we wrote another section for that. But to both of us, one thing that was super important is, how do we empower people? How do we help them find the right information? And how can we make it in a way that, like we created some lists, take that to your oncologist, take that to your surgeon. And it's already written out. So all they have to do is answer, and you can write it in the book. So that to me was super important. How do we make something easy for somebody who's, trying to understand a topic that they're not familiar with? And you did that beautifully. I mean, you have that gift, and you made it possible. So thank you.
Likewise. And the other thing that I think is what got this process rolling was when you started talking about the fact that all books have basically been the same since the Gutenberg Bible was printed. And so talk a little bit about that process of realizing we have to change this in order to get the information to people.
Yeah, it's funny because I always try to reach my patients. I realize that not every patient is the same, and that's good. And I always ask people, are you visual? Are you auditory? How do you get your information? And I'll have to honestly tell you that most people nowadays are very visual. But what do? We write books the same way we wrote them in the 14th century. It's all word after word after word. And it's difficult. I mean, it is a good soporific, so if you cannot sleep at night, you can read that type of book. But if you're actually trying to get information in a short amount of time and get informed so you can be empowered to ask the right questions and to know what's really good for you, you need something a little bit more streamlined, and I think that's one of the strengths of our book, I believe.
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
This book is basically colored boxes, charts and graphs, and flow charts, and the text to support that. The text is very important, and there's a lot of great information there, but we've basically created almost a coloring book for adults who have problems, and I love the fact that we're there.
And of course, since you're dealing with half of the team being female, we had to put the right coloring and the right...
oh, yeah.
And so I think it's not going to be boring whatsoever. Another thing that was important to me was, how do we tap into other people's experience? Because it doesn't matter how hard I try to convey to you 25 years of experience, it's not the same when I tell you about a complication than when another person who's gone through it tells you about that complication. And I think the stories that are at the beginning of the books and at the end of the books are true stories of not only physicians who are giving you some of the more relevant cases that they went through, that humanized them, that taught them about prostate cancer, prostate health, but also the patient's perspective. What was it like for them? And more exciting to me, which is, I was really excited about this part of the book, is, the truth is, this is not a disease that just affects the men. Unfortunately, it's a disease that affects the entire family. And how do we support the wives and the partners and the people around them so they can be there for each other? And I think that section, I'm proud of it, and because we both
it's unique,
felt that it was important to acknowledge, we call it the silent heroes, and you guys are heroes, and you are the ones that need more support and praise because you are that basement, that important foundation for your partner to be supported and loved and to help them make the right decisions.
And I just wanted to add to something you were saying. The patient stories that begin each chapter, when I read them, because I went through 60 or 70 of these to cull out the 10 that we used, and I was blown away by the stories of people who went to 5 doctors and were almost in the surgery room on the gurney, and they changed their mind and something happened, or the surgeon canceled and they went in a totally different direction, and it was absolutely the right direction for them. And what that told me was that you have to listen because you're being guided along the way, and to not just go, okay, I saw one doctor and he said to do this and now I'm going to go do that, and end of discussion. And it was life-affirming for me because that's not the process I went through. And to hear that other men had done the same thing and their stories were really similar to mine but yet quite different. Some had gone to Cancun to get treatment, it's like whatever. But that was really interesting. And the other thing about the spouses and partners section, you're right. Life doesn't happen in a vacuum. Your community, your family, your friends, your loved ones, your partner, your life partner, your wife, whatever you want to call it, are intimately involved in this whole thing. And one of the most healing moments I had was when I got the minister of the church I was going to have a healing ceremony, and about 35 people put hands on me and said, "We love you and we want you to get better." It was like, wow, it was so life-affirming. It was like, It took it out of the surreal and made it real. And that's what I hope these stories do for the people who read the book, both in the spouses section and the physicians and patient stories, because you need to know it's okay. You need to know what you're going through is okay. And hearing that other people have gone through the same thing that you have is somehow strengthening. It gives you hope. It gives you a sense of courage.
Absolutely, absolutely. Something that was very important to me when we were writing the book was to keep in mind that, and it's something that I truly believe, and I've tried to stay true to it, is that, every family, every individual is different. And that if we had the perfect treatment, we would only be discussing one treatment. But when I'm in the office and I'm trying to discuss with the couple or the family the situation, I want them to see all the treatments, because the truth is, I've only met them for an hour, maximum 2. They know themselves. They know what's important to them. They know what they can live with down the road or where they cannot live in down the road. And we need to put that as part of the equation. We need to listen to patients. And then we need to provide the information in a way that is untainted, that is truthful, that is how would I say that? I'm not trying to sell
Unbiased.
Yeah, I'm biased. We're not trying to sell one thing. It's like that old thing that I love in English, the saying that says, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, that's what we were trying to avoid, is how do we present every treatment modality that is reasonable in a true way. So patients can say, you know what, I just couldn't live with this, but this sounds good. And that's what's important, is for them, for you to find the treatment that you believe in, the treatment that you go, that I can live with. And that to us was super important, not just to make it, this is the only treatment, but present it in an honest way so people can make their own decision.
Right. No, I completely agree. And the unbiased part about it is
absolutely
that we don't have a horse in the race or a dog in the fight about what treatments people choose. We just wanted to pick the right ones for them. And what that is different for everybody.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
We're not here selling anything.
Yeah, and it's not right or wrong, and that's the beauty. You cannot go wrong when you follow your heart, your intuition, and if you base everything in knowledge that is unbiased. Lastly, one thing that I was excited about, and we hope someday we can expand on it, but there's only so much you can put in one book, was the lifestyle modifications, because we both believe that that's super important. I can tell you something that you'll think at first when I tell you it sounds absolutely insane, because the first time it happened to me, I thought it was absolutely insane. But one of my patients came back in my early career and said, cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. When they said that, the first time I ever heard that, I was a bit shocked, and I'm like, okay. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, it helped me truly live. Mm-hmm. I had been dormant. I had been doing, I had been missing all the things that were important in my life, my relationship with my wife, with my children, all the things that I always wanted to do, and I haven't done it. He says, in a way, cancer has given me that opportunity to live, to know myself, to recognize what's important in my life. So now I realize that was not a unique thing anybody said, but it's actually a recurrent theme. And so if we can help people not only find what's right for them as far as treatment, but make them understand that the true healing comes from changing their lives, looking at what they're missing in every aspect. Is it spiritual? Is it emotional? Is it better diet? Is it exercise? And we did touch a little bit on one of our chapters about some of these things, but we realized that it's really difficult to put all of them into one chapter. Would you agree with that? Or
Impossible.
Impossible.
It's like this is another book. So wait for our next book, because that's what it's going to be. Well, we have actually 2 other books. But anyway, one of the things I want to add to that is, you're right. Cancer can be that wake-up call. Mm-hmm. That's a gift, presuming you survive it and survive it well, without major complications. It is that bell ringing that you can't ignore, because if you don't pay attention to having a cancer diagnosis, well, what are you going to pay attention to? What's it going to take? And that's what it took for me to change my life. And now my life is a gift. I get up in the morning, it's a gift. Every day is a gift. Mm-hmm. And I am much more conscious of that than I ever was before. It was like, oh God, all the complaints. And I also realized, and I don't mean to sound morbid, but we all have an end date. We're not going to be here forever. And we all think, oh, there's no deadline to this. I'll get to that. This will happen, that'll happen. And it's like what something like cancer does is it wakes you up to the fact that you got to live now.
Absolutely.
And you got to live in the moment and fully present and not waiting for, I don't know what your magic boat to come in or something like that. I don't know what, we all wait for, but I hope that comes through in this book as well. It's like, this is almost like a permission slip to go live.
Absolutely. And take it.
Yeah. And what Emilia was saying before also is like all these different facets go into your life, and if you can change 1 or 2 of them, you can change your whole life.
It's huge. Little changes are actually the best. It's very difficult sometimes to change everything at one time. So creating a plan of, changing one thing and then another one and another one, and realizing it's not something you're just changing for a month or 2, but this is going to be a lifestyle change forever. So you have to make it manageable. And that's what we hope that the book can help you start doing, is these little changes. We give you prompts and we give you ways of doing that. And we just would love to have you be a part of this family, because for us what we're trying to create is in a way, a group of people that are in the same wavelength in a way, people that are willing and ready to take care of themselves, take responsibility for their health, and move on, use this as a springboard to better life and better health.
Absolutely. And, I'm just going to add a little to that.
Absolutely.
If you use someone gave me this analogy once, and I think it really works well. If you're in an open field and you're driving, let's say, a Jeep, as opposed to a car, and you're in an open field and you're driving your Jeep and you turn the steering wheel just 10 degrees. Well, in a very short amount of time, you're going to end up in a completely different place if you had just kept the wheel going straight. And that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
You make a couple of little changes, and the next thing you know, you're over here, and you're healthy, and you're like, well, how the heck did that happen?
It's true.
That's how. And I've seen it myself. I've seen it in tons of other people. And I know you, because you preach this and teach this all day long. You see it in all these people. And it's like, it's not, see, for me, I grew up in a medical family, and that was booga wooga. That was like, nutrition, diet, oh, bah, and all of a sudden it's like, well, no, it actually really has a really strong impact. So does stress, so do emotions. Everybody I know who's either had a heart attack or cancer went through some massive life-altering, stressful situation about 2 to 3 years before they had a heart attack or got cancer.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, I know that's anecdotal, but that's been my experience.
No, I think that's very real. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's change gears and now let's tell them more fun stuff about the book. I wanted to add, and this is sort of a plug, but we have a website called health-otb.com, which is Health Outside the Box, and that's our company name. And on there is a form that anybody can fill out has cancer touched your life, has prostate cancer touched your life. And I highly recommend that share your story with us. We'll put it up on the website. We may even use it in other places if you give us permission. And it's one of those things that I think that's got incredible value because it touches other people's lives that you'll never know, that you'll never understand, you'll never meet, and they will somehow be changed just by knowing your story. And if you think your story is insignificant, trust me, it's not. It has value.
And to add to that, I would encourage you partners and family members to please do the same.
Absolutely.
Just remember that where you are at today, someday you will be able to help other people that are going through it and that they don't think they can get through it. And knowing that you did and knowing how you did it is going to make all the difference in the world for them. So just remember how important you are and be a part of this process with us. And we're grateful that you're out there supporting your loved one.
Yeah, you are the silent heroes. You are the real models for other people about how they're going to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so we just want to say thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the books. And please contact us and let us know your story or any other information you want. Or hey, we want a book about. Please send us an email.
See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.